How does Indiana get federal workforce funding? A lot of the money that helps unemployed Hoosiers comes from the federal government, and more specifically Congress. It's covered in a bill that was passed in 2014 called the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, but most people just call it WIOA. WIOA allocates money to states based on a weighted formula. The weights favor states with high numbers of unemployed people in terms of raw numbers, not percentages. That way, states with more population get more money. It also takes into account the share of disadvantaged youth and adults based on the American Community Survey from the census. At a minimum, states have to get at least 0.25% of all the WIOA funding, or 90% of whatever they got the year before, whichever is greater. On the maximum side, states could get a 30% increase. Let's look at 2019 as an example. Congress approved a little more than $3.5 billion to be spent on unemployment one-stop centers around the country. In the previous calendar year, Indiana's average unemployment rate was pretty low, 3.45%. That meant of the $3 billion, Indiana got about $38.3 million. About $7 million of that was kept by the Department of Workforce Development for administrative costs and to create a fund for discretionary spending. The rest is divided up amongst the state's 12 workforce regions based on another formula that looks almost exactly the same as the federal version. On top of that, Indiana has its own special formula for money that helps workers who have been laid off or lost wages due to factors outside of their control. Based on all of that, most of the 12 regions got less than $2 million, while places like Marion County and Northwest Indiana got a lot more. It makes sense to a lot of people that the money follows the unemployment needs, but it also means that the workforce agencies in the state's most rural areas have to tighten their belts, especially as unemployment rates drop. And as economists warn of a potential economic recession, it could mean that unemployment help from the federal government would be slow to arrive. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm workforce development reporter Justin Hicks. Digital producer Lauren Chapman was responsible for the graphics and caricatures. Do you have a question about Indiana's workforce? Reach out to us on Twitter. I'm at Hicks_JustinM, and Lauren is at Lauren E. Chapman_.